Hello everyone, this is Coretta coming to you from a very dark room on a very rainy day. Right now anyway, I have a little bit of a break, so I figured I would just show you guys around Zbrush because a few people have been asking me about showing them Zbrush stuff. So this is the interface that you're going to see when you open up Zbrush for the first time. I don't know why, but when I hit Document and New Document, it makes this window bigger, and I like that. I like the bigger window. That's good. Okay, so ZBrush is a sculpting program. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to need something to sculpt on. So we're going to start with something simple. We're going to start with a sphere. Now, ZBrush language is a little bit different. When you consider a tool, if you use Photoshop and you think of a tool, you think of your tools as being like brushes and lassos and stuff like that. In ZBrush, a tool is considered any object that is on the canvas or in the scene is considered a tool. So you want to go over here to your tools menu, right? And you want to click in here where it says tool, right? It says simple brush, but when you mouse over it, it'll change to tool. Click on that, and it'll give you a couple options for some primitives, alright? A whole bunch of 3D brushes and stuff like that. I haven't gotten into this, and it wouldn't be too hard for me to get into this because it would simply mean just clicking on it and seeing what the hell it does. That's how you learn. Hey Coretta, what does this brush do? I don't know, dude. Open up ZBrush, click on it, and see what it does. It's not gonna blow up, and if it does, then don't click on it again. That's how you learn. It's part of the learning process. Alright, so a sphere. We're gonna click on this sphere, and we're going to just click drag in the middle of the screen. Or relatively the middle of the screen, because I'm retarded. Okay, so now we're gonna start sculpting. Oh. Okay, just gonna Oh, I keep making spheres. I don't know why. Well, what am I going to do? Well, it's simple. You're going to click in the middle of the screen again, this time actually sort of in the middle of the screen. But if you want to start sculpting on this, you have to go up here and hit Edit. Now you're going to get this white frame around here, and now you should be good to go. Now you can start moving your object around. I don't know what the resolution of this is going to be, but you should be able to see that there's a little bit, you can see the polygonal outlines of where the polygons are on the sphere, and you can kind of see the middle of it here, and you can see me rotating it around. And now, I still can't sculpt on it. To enable sculpting, please convert this 3D primitive to a Polymesh 3D by pressing the Make Polymesh 3D button in the tool palette. Now this is pretty self-explanatory. So somewhere along the way, the software is helping you to move on to the next step. So in the tool palette is up here, right? And here is the button that says Make Polymesh 3D, and we're just going to click on that. Now, I can sculpt on it. Holy crap! We're like getting somewhere now. I'm sounding a little bit hoarse in my throat because it's one of those days and my allergies are sort of flaring up. So, okay. Now I can sculpt on this and I can do whatever I want, right? But if we're going to be doing things like faces and things like that, we're going to want symmetry, and you want to hit X for symmetry. Now X brings up the shortcut, but I don't really know where to go to kind of change which direction the mirror is in. It would be somewhere around here, somewhere, maybe there's a menu for the brushes or something like that. If I click out here, is there a brush menu or something like that? Yeah, whatever, we don't need that right now. That's something I'll learn further down. But anyway, I think it defaults across the X, I believe. I should know this because I do 3D. But anyway, you get this thing where you can mirror your strokes, and now you're good to go and make faces and cool things like that, or just weird shapes for shits and giggles. So yeah, you're kind of ready to go with this. Now, If I make a stroke, you'll notice something about the strokes. It's very sort of low poly. It's very low resolution right now. You want to go into your geometry tab and you want to divide this. And then you realize now that your strokes look a little less faceted than they did before. But let's say you want to do something different. You want to kind of work on this without worrying about, polygons cutting across and all of these things. You want to go to your Dynamesh. Now, Dynamesh is kind of the god of Zbrush. Everybody is using Zbrush because of Dynamesh, because it solves an issue that you have when you are working in 3D, and that is polygons and topology. With Dynamesh, you don't really have to worry about topology so much. If you hit the Dynamesh button, it'll turn orange, and you can just divide that, right? You don't want to divide it too much. As you can see, we've already divided it 4 times, and we're up to 2.8 million polygons. Now, I have a pretty beefy system, but your system is going to start telling you when you have too many polygons on things. I guarantee it, right? Your system's going to start slowing down. I think I can go up to about 23 million polygons before my computer starts going, hey, Coretta, what are you doing? You're giving me a little bit more than I can handle right now. So now, when I draw on it, I get these really smooth lines, and I don't really see. I can cut polygons, I can cut lines across anything, anywhere, and I'm not really seeing any polygons or anything like that, right? So that's kind of how Dynamesh helps. Now, the next thing you're going to want to look at is your brushes. The brush tab is up here. You click on it, and you have a whole bunch of different options. But before that, I'm going to go into something else that I should have probably gone into before, and that is navigating around here. If you just click on the screen here, well, I'm using my Wacom pen. If I just draw with my pen in an open space, it's going to rotate around my object, right? If you're using a mouse, if you just regular left click and move your mouse around in an open space, it's going to rotate around the object, right? If you want to pan your object, left to right, up or down, you want to hit Alt, and then you want to drag in an open space, and you'll start moving your object around. If you want to zoom, you hit Control. It will turn to the mask tool, but if you're over here, oh, whoops, sorry. I did the wrong thing. You want to hit Control, and it's right click, I think, on the mouse, and you forward click on the Wacom pen. It's the front, the down, or whichever click is closer to the point of the pen or whatever. You click that one, you drag back and forth, and it will zoom in and out. And that's while hitting the Control button. So you'll hit Control, it goes to the mask tool, and the mask tool simply just does this. It masks stuff out, right? So you can click back out here, click and drag, and it's just, clears the mask. But if you hit the Control, it will go to the mask tool. It says mask, but you want to right click on your mouse, or, down click on your Wacom pen, and you pull back and forth and you zoom in and out, right? So that's how you navigate around, okay? So still want to make sure I got the symmetry on this. And if you want to frame something at center, because sometimes as you're doing things, they end up sometimes down here. If you want to frame it back in center, hit F. Boom, it comes right up in the middle and you're good to go. Okay, now let's get to the brushes. Click on this and all these brushes come up. And these are crazy brushes. They can do like a whole bunch of things. I'm going to click on probably one of my favorite brushes, which is the clay buildup brush, and I'm going to show you. Well, let me go back to the standard brush. Like, if I keep rubbing in the same area here, you'll only get so much deformation out of the mesh before it stops, right? So it'll stop right there. With the clay buildup brush, if I keep dragging on the same area, you see it will start deforming. It literally just starts building out into infinity. Now here's something that I want to show you, which is awesome about Dynamesh. Alright? If you go and hit Control and you click drag in an open space, something happened here. What happened? It added more polygons on this area. So what it does, it allows you to kind of create shapes and deformations to your mesh and then adds more polygons to it, which is something that you can't really do, you know, if it's just in the polymesh mode. If you do it in polymesh mode, it just does not work. That doesn't happen in polymesh mode, right? But let's hit undo on that until you're right back to square one, and I'm going to hit F to frame this again. I'm going to try to find back the center of this so I can do my... Yeah, there we go. Now if you notice, I get these square strokes, and it gives me these very jagged lines because it's got these square strokes. That's because there's an alpha on this brush. By default, the clay buildup brush has an alpha. If you click on that, you click alpha off, and then you can make your strokes and they're nice and smooth. You want that. That's you want that, right? So I've hit undo too many times here, so let me go put back my subdivisions, right? So yeah, now you get some nice smooth brush motion there. Now my clay buildup brush is like my favorite brush. It's what I use to do my four-armed guy that I showed you guys on Animation Nation. It's a very nice brush. It gives you this nice kind of clay sort of feeling. You know, it just feels nice when you, and just looks nice when you work on it, because it gives you this kind of flat sort of built up strokes, and the more you draw on an area, the more you build up, kind of. Up here also you have the ability to change your brush size. I think if you hit S, the brush size thing will come up on the screen and you can just change it up and down. You don't hold down the S, you just press it and let it go, and then you just change the size of your brush and you just draw. Now I'm just drawing freehand here because I just want to kind of show you guys what these brushes do. Now, I'm not doing a tutorial, I'm just kind of walking you around the software. And the thing is, I really don't like tutorials. I'll be honest with you, I'm not crazy about tutorials. I like this, it kind of looks like hair. Like I've just done a couple strokes and already it starts looking like I'm sculpting hair or something like that. So I like that. And if I were to build this up, this area up here, I'd make it look like these sections, these strands of hair are coming up above and in front of everything else. So that's pretty cool, right? Then I could make a face in here and all that junk. So anyway, that's the clay buildup brush. Every one of these brushes have their own unique quirks and purposes. You've got the elastic brush, you've got move topological and move elastic. Move, clearly it does what it says, it moves things, so if you grab the surface it moves it. You know, they're pretty much self-explanatory. You've got the polish brush, which smooths out a lot of areas and kind of tries to flatten everything out so it looks a little bit more uniform, especially if you have an area where it looks a little bit lumpy. You just use this and it kind of helps it, you know, flatten out a bit. You've got the planar brush, will kind of cut into faces and sections and stuff like that. The planar brush is a little bit weird, I don't really understand it just yet. Polish, almost like the other polish brush, but this one's not as strong. What is my other one that I like to use? Not morph. I like to use the pinch brush. The pinch is interesting. Let me go back to my clay buildup. So let's say I make, let me make this a lot smaller. Let's say I make 2 strokes this way, right? That's too much. Let's make it a little, there we go. Now, let's say that these are like two muscle masses or something like that, and you want to kind of define the line between this. You go for your pinch brush here. So let's make this a little bit bigger. And I want to turn down the intensity of this a little bit. You drag down the middle here, and you start realizing it starts bringing the two sides together. Let's turn the intensity up. It starts bringing these two sides together and creating this kind of pinch effect between everything, and it really defines that line. You see that? You see how that happens? Yeah. That's what the pinch brush does. It's really cool, and I use that a lot, especially when I'm doing like the muscles and stuff like that. Between muscle masses, you want to end up creating a sort of defining line. This is the thing to use. This is pretty cool. What other brushes on here that I've used a lot? You know, I mean, it's like I said, just click around. I'm not going to show you all of them. If you're, again, if you're curious as to what all of these brushes do, you get ZBrush for yourself, click on something, and just draw, you know. It will do something, and then you'll be like, oh, that's what it does. So this is the flatten brush. I've just discovered the flatten brush. Ooh, you and I are discovering things together. That's awesome. So it's kind of like a smooth brush in a way, but it just kind of flattens areas out. Again, if you have kind of lumpy models and you want to smooth it out and make it look a little bit more clean, that's what you want to use, your flatten brush. It kind of flattens everything out. Another thing, you know, I showed you the control, and you can click, drag, and mask areas, right? If you hit the shift key, it'll turn blue. What that does, it brings up a kind of alt mode, and what that alt mode does is assign, it's another brush that's assigned to it. At default, it's assigned to the smooth brush, and if you drag it, you will just smooth out some of these lines here, and it really, you can kind of really merge things in, so it won't give you this, you know, like you can see the hard ends of this. If you use the smooth brush, it kind of just melts it into the rest of the model, so you don't see that hard defining line where it's ended off. And again, something you want to use, especially when you're doing organic stuff, that's what you want to use. So, you know, like I said, just open up ZBrush and just start painting and doing stuff. I'm going to show you guys really quickly my model for... Would I like to save changes on this? No.